there's a I don't know how this is gonna come across. Those of you who are listening, you're a lot smarter than a lot of other people that have done this in the past. Where people get caught up is paralysis by analysis. They never pull the trigger. All of life is a risk, and you have to understand what your level of risk is. It's risky now to buy real estate, I guess. It's risky in the future not to have any investments. It's risky to go to the gym every morning and to exercise your body because you might get hurt, but it's also risky to be weak when you're older and not being able to get in the floor and play with your grandkids. Every bit of life is risk, and through whether it is reading a book, having a mentor, listening to a podcast like this, whatever it is, once you have a knowledge and a skill set in place where you could maybe not see what the finish line looks like, but you can see the next 2 steps in front of you, take action. Fortune favors the bold. I had an old boss that used to tell me that good deals get better, bad deals get worse. So if you've got enough people, especially as a newbie investor, telling you, yes, this is a good deal. Yes, this is a good deal. That's probably a good deal, and you should probably listen.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Today I have a very amazing person on this broadcast. His name is Adam Taylor, and I wanted to welcome Adam. Bella Loomis is my co-host. Welcome, Adam, from South Carolina.
Greatest state in the union, baby.
That's right, baby. I don't tend to disagree with you, actually. I got a few things I want to share about Adam before we get started. He has, I've been in this business a long time, and I've met thousands of agents, and I got to tell you, he is a very, very high performer. He's a mega solo producer. He does a lot of sales every year. He operates a superb team in South Carolina, and he's one of the best teams in his company, Keller Williams. He's also an accomplished investor, so he got my attention with that, and he's actually taught me a few things in that regard. And he also serves in the South Carolina National Guard, and he was literally called out recently because of the flooding. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that too with Adam, and
Sure.
And all these things. He's also a great dad. He's a great husband. And he's a big time community leader. So I just feel very, very honored, Adam, that you're on the show today with us.
I appreciate the opportunity, and you and I connected several months ago, and we haven't turned back since. And it's only by the strength of the Lord that I'm able to do all those things. I feel like He's given a lot of gifts, talents, and abilities, and I recognize that. But it's also up to each one of us to steward that. So I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. Every day I try to make it a point to call a couple people around the country that are just at the top of their game. So when I read Adam's bio, it kind of just blew me away. I said, I got to talk to this guy. So I got to know him, and I literally flew out to South Carolina, and I worked with one of his team members, Kyle, and I actually bought an investment property because I just really trusted him, and he told me what was going on in that state and all the advantages of buying there, and just really showed me the ropes on how to do it there outside of my own state. So I'd like to hear your story, though, Adam, a little bit about, your background. I know you had a financial background, and now you're in the real estate space. And how did you make that switch, and how's it going? And, what's the next chapter? There's a lot of stuff I want to ask.
Yeah, well, so it seems like a little bit of a convoluted story, but just hang with me, and I'll try to explain it the best that I can. So I was born and raised in Lawrence, South Carolina, which is just the town below Greenville. It was very much, there were more cows than people. We would always go from Lawrence up to Greenville to do anything fun on the weekends. And so I guess really one of the first major things in life that was really impactful was as a junior in high school. I just didn't have a lot of passion, a lot of purpose in life. And as a believer, I'd really started to really prioritize my faith. And I was just praying. I was asking God, like, I don't have anything that I'm super passionate about. I need something as kind of something I can kind of devote myself to. And actually that came my junior year of baseball. I did not start on varsity in my junior year. We had a freshman that was playing over me, and I was a good basketball player, decent baseball player, but I still had a freshman starting over me. this kid slides into the plate and breaks his ribs. And I specifically remember I was the last person on the bench, and my coach looks down and he goes, I probably can't say this word on the podcast, but he goes, you know what? Screw it, Taylor, you're in. And a few days before that, I had prayed for passion and purpose. And I went in and through a crazy series of events, it's probably too long of a story, ended up going from not starting to hitting ninth to eighth to seventh to fifth to fourth. And all of a sudden started getting recruited. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue. The only way to explain it is a divine intervention. And so then I just fell in love with the process of becoming good at baseball, which leads me to where I went to college. I went to North Greenville University. My freshman year, we won the National Christian College Athletic Association World Series. I continued to progress as a player. Won a World Series and National Player of the Year, and also had a lot of downs while I was there. I was supposed to be a top 10 rounder after my junior year, and really baseball became my guide. And so really had a lot of positive and negatives that happened there, but it made me feel okay and comfortable with failure. So leaving North Greenville, had the opportunity to play a little bit of minor league baseball. And I played independent professional baseball for 2 years, 2014 and 2015, had 2 really great years, making $800 a month, though, does not pay. And you can't live off of that. I was getting married in 2015. And so I ended up having to make a financial decision to leave the game of baseball that I loved to go work at TD Bank. So I took the first job that I had out of grad school, because I was not only playing minor league baseball, I was getting my MBA. So I took the first job paying over $50,000 a year, and I ended up being an underwriter at TD Bank. My first big boy job, if you will. And as an underwriter, learned a whole lot about the financial industry, about how to underwrite deals. And I really enjoyed that job for 3 years. But there was no upward mobility. And so my schedule was working noon to 11 p.m., Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was an underwriter on the West Coast. So I missed 3 years of church. I missed 3 years of hanging out with friends. I missed 3 years of putting my kids in the bath. But, I had to provide. That was my calling, but I was not happy. So they offered me a job promotion opportunity to go to Detroit, Michigan. And no offense to Detroit, but Detroit is not Greenville, South Carolina. And so I politely declined that. And I could almost sense them ball me up and throw me in the trash. It was not useful to them anymore. Well, this really kind of comes back around to the second real earnest prayer for passion, purpose, direction. And it's almost as audible as I've ever heard God. And it was real estate and the National Guard. Wow. I've always wanted to serve. In fact, if I wasn't playing baseball out of North Greenville, I would have joined the Army or the Marine Corps or one of those. And so I'm sitting at TD Bank, and I get a message like, you're supposed to start a real estate business and be in the National Guard. So for 3 years, I worked 3 jobs. I was an underwriter at TD Bank. I did my guard duty, and I built the real estate business starting in 2018. And it took me a while to be able to feel comfortable in leaving TD Bank. But whenever I burned the ships, the W-2 life is not for me. I'm going to burn these ships. The hockey stick growth started happening. And I went from selling 38 homes my first year to 80, and 80 became 100, and 100 became 120. And, the volume went from 4 million to 8 million, and 8 to 16, and 16 to 25, and 25 to 27 was 1 year, but we focused on quality there. And then we went from 27 to 47. It was just to see the hockey stick growth from that point has been incredible. So again, for 3 years, I worked 3 jobs. I've stayed faithful in what we do, and just now trying to replicate myself through others and give others the opportunity to be in this incredible industry. And that brings us up today. This year, we're probably going to do 180 transactions for somewhere around 60 million in volume.
Wow. Okay, I got to hone in on something. So when you
Yeah.
went from that W-2 job into the 1099 world, what was that defining moment like? Like, what was the tell me about your heart and your mind when you made that decision. Was there any fear, or were you just like, I got to get the heck out of there? Tell me what was going through your mind there.
Yeah, definitely fear, a little bit of both. Like I set a goal of when I get to this amount in savings, I can operate freely in the real estate space because I had been working 3 jobs for 3 years and nobody's willing to do that. So I had I had some savings on hand, but I said, you know what, when I get to the point that I feel like I can operate for 1 year without collecting one penny, we're just going to see what's going to happen. So that helped me get out of emotion brain into logic brain. When I get to this number, I'm burning the ships and I'm going full throttle into this thing. But then the emotion brain, of course, always sneaks in. And I specifically remember sitting on the couch with my wife the day before my first day of full time real estate. And I looked over to her and I said, I don't know how I'm going to fill my whole day with just real estate. And now I'm like trying to figure out how to get 5 more hours a day. So very much, fear, emotion, logic, the whole thing was at play there.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot of success in just a short amount of time. That hockey stick growth is, 2018, you said?
2018. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you run one of the biggest, very successful real estate teams in South Carolina, right?
Yeah. So last year we actually were the number one real estate team in North and South Carolina within Keller Williams. And it's definitely one of those things that it's about the processes to get to the outcome. And self-admittedly, and I know this about myself now, I will chase outcomes, but that's not where true satisfaction is. True satisfaction is in the daily process with the people that lead to the outcomes. Whenever you're process focused, the outcomes just take care of themselves. And we've all got to be careful not to chase outcomes, because that's where you tend to, in my opinion, to really not value the people that you're doing it with. And ultimately, that's what the most important thing is.
That is so true. By the way, it's about the journey, right? Not the destination. Because if you just focus on the destination all the time, you lose your joy, right? You got to find your joy every day and developing people and helping clients win. I can totally resonate with that.
Being CEO of this team, like what do you love most about it? Like what keeps you up at night? Like what are those key things that you think about all day?
It's a little bit of I had a mentor that once told me that he who takes on a servant takes on a master. And it's one of those things that I think that the normal way that people think about business is that, I have employees, so they do these things for me, which that's true. That's healthy. But also too, you've got an obligation to that person. You've got an obligation to their family. You've got an obligation to their future. And so I would say that the biggest thing that keeps me up at night is, are we doing enough to make it worth their time? How can I think more proactively about putting them in better positions? How can I train them better? How can I give them more than anybody's ever given them in terms of investment? How can I invest into them hard so that what we do, that they would consider it worthwhile? So I'd say that's been the biggest thing that keeps me up, because I'm always looking to innovate and always looking to do some things. And I've also realized too that sometimes, even though I'm a go-getter, I hold people's hands too much. So a lot of times I have to allow them to feel it themselves before it becomes their own. But, running this thing from a day-to-day perspective, there are 8 million things that I do daily. And, one of the biggest things that we're kind of working through right now is how to operate as a group, how to remove me from primary salesperson to the CEO. Because sales and the human relationship side of things, that's my baby. And so now training people up that might do it a little bit differently or might not have the same intensity level as me. It's been a lot of transition of how do we track and keep agents accountable. And then also, how do I trust that they're going to go out and to replicate what got us here? But I know that if we do it the right way, we're going to have 5 even better Adam Taylors out there, or 10 even better Adam Taylors out there, and they can do far more than I could ever do by myself.
Yeah, you're a servant leader, and that's what's going to make you a great leader, right? You care about your people and their success first and foremost, and you care about the value proposition you're offering them, and you're the keeper of the culture too. I'm sure you're driving the culture through with your team members, but also giving them the autonomy to be themselves, right? To really embrace who they are, right? And giving them that freedom, right? So it's kind of a fine line, right? You got to have accountability. You need to drive the team forward, but you don't want to steal that from people, their true identity and who they are, right?
Yeah. So we've got our new performance coach that we just brought on. He says, hard on issues, easy on people. And I think a lot of times people can overcomplicate what leadership styles are. And a lot of times I have a lot of noise going on in my head about how do I clearly articulate that? And whenever he hit me with that little proverb, hey, hard on issues, easy on people, it really is easy to then separate the issue from the person, correct the issue, continue to love on the person. And I love how succinct that is. And that's one of the things I generally try to come back to as some truth whenever, because I don't know if y'all can pick this up, but I'm a little bit competitive and I might have a little bit of a temper. So when things don't go the right way, sometimes I'm like, and that's a nice little proverb to center me back to what really actually matters.
So you're a redhead, right? Aren't redheads famous for having a temper, Adam?
Yeah, this beard before I got into real estate did not have any white in it. So either that's the anger that has come out, or the temper that has come out, or but yes, there's a little ginger in there.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of high people that produce well in real estate are also what we would call a high D personality, right? Anyone that's done the DISC assessment knows that the biggest emotion that comes out of a high D personality, and I would bet you probably have a pretty sizable D in your personality. You're a driver. The biggest emotion is anger. Yeah. And a lot of people look at that and they are very critical of that, but a lot of people that are like us that are Ds understand that it's not a horrible thing. That's just how we're made. Sometimes emotion comes out and we care, and so you have to understand that about high producers. But I want to say something about your coach. This is an amazing thing you did. So I honestly think Adam runs one of the best teams in the nation, because I talked to a lot of top producers. He invested his own money, right, to go hire a performance coach, a coach to help develop the people on the team, right? Tell us how that's going, because that's awesome.
Yeah, so there, I'd be lying to say there wasn't a learning curve, because, Jim with us has been a solo agent, a high producing solo agent for 27 years. And so to train him how teams work versus individual, and the reporting and just the team stuff, that's been the biggest learning curve. But, the guy cares, and I'll take heart and character any day of the week, because I can train that. And realistically, he's got such immense collateral that's already in place with how to do a buyer presentation, how to do a listing presentation, how to, what are 19 factors about how to win your offer. 15 things that every buyer needs to know. He has, it goes on and on and on and on. For 27 years in the business, he's got all this stuff. So, he is going to be a crucial part of not only growing our agents, but then also recruiting for us, because he can train. He's been there, he's done it, he's written books. And so I really anticipate, the hockey stick has started. I imagine Jim is going to be one of those key components to really take us even further than we ever imagined.
Yeah, I think that's a differentiator for your team. You just don't see that very often. Team leaders, investing that kind of capital into additional resources like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I reached out to a gentleman that I really look up to. And again, I need people to simplify things for me in my brain. And I was asking him about this hire, and he goes, Adam, let me just bullet down to you very simple. You can do 2 out of 3 things really well as a CEO of a company. You can be in the business, you could work on the business, or you can teach, train, and coach. Pick 2. And so I decided to remain in the business and on the business, because I still love to produce and I still love to really drive the ship of where we're going. But I looked and I saw that my, producers were a little bit, I wasn't paying enough attention to them. And, producers are like delicate little flowers sometimes. So, I decided to outsource that, but then also bring it in house. I say outsource it, but, bring somebody in house with all that experience to get them to the level that I know that they could be at.
I feel very blessed. We're becoming friends, Adam. And one thing I do admire in you as well is your fitness. And I know, Bella, you'll like vibe with this. You guys, we're all athletes, but you guys went a lot further than me. How do you balance all this, Adam? Because you take good care of your mental health, your physical health. You've got this team. What are some of your rhythms you have to take care of your body and your mind, your spirit?
Yeah. So, conquer the morning is what I would say. Just conquer the morning. Up early, have some discipline. It's not easy. Nobody loves working out at 6, but being up early, taking your you time, because life gets in the way of your you time. And if you don't have it written in the calendar of when you're waking up, when you're going to bed, when you're hanging out with friends, when you're taking a date night, when you're doing the personal stuff, if it's not written down, it will not happen. So my rhythm is that I'm up at 5:30. Usually spend a little bit of time reading or in prayer. And then it's off to the gym. And I go and I make so many decisions every day that I like to go to the gym and not think. So I choose CrossFit. So I walk in every morning and there's the workout of the day that is on the board. There's professional trainers there taking us through it. And you just kind of suffer well together with other people. And, there's a little bit of that competitor still inside that I know when I'm looking at the 24-year-old fresh out of college, I'm going to beat him. So, and I'm watching them out of my peripheral, but it's just, it's beating your old self. I want to be a little bit better than younger Adam every day. And at the same time, too, that community aspect really drives not only business, but it also, gives you something to do outside of work. Real estate can really tend to take over everything of life if you let it.
Yeah.
And so being very careful to have community, to have mentors, to have physical fitness, mental fitness, spiritual fitness, the whole thing really actually builds a sustainable life, not only for yourself, but then also for everybody on the team. If I'm a disaster and I don't show up for my people, that impacts 30 people. That impacts 30 lives that all depend on me.
That's right.
One way or another. So, everybody wants to be a leader until they understand the cost of it. So, that's why I take it extremely seriously.
Yeah, because it's the law of the lid, right? I mean, people can't really improve any more than the rate of the leader. And if you're flatlining, right, and you're not pushing yourself, how do you expect to push everybody else on the team?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Bella,
go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, she plays a wicked pickleball game. I don't know if you could beat her in pickleball. She's about 24, 25.
I was a pretty snazzy racquetball player. Funny story on that real quick. So my dad is extremely athletic. He's a lefty. I went seriously 0-200 against the man growing up. I never won a single game of racquetball. And then all of a sudden one day when I leave the house and I go to college, I start going to play at the sports club around here, and I am whooping everybody. I'm playing A level already and all this stuff. And I was I've never won a single match, and I don't think I've lost since then. But of course, I go play my dad again, and he's going to whoop my tail.
That's awesome. Did you, just from growing up playing baseball and even now being so active, are you taking those disciplines and just the routines and taking that into your business and teaching others the same too?
Yeah, I'm trying to, and I'm really glad I got a lot of failure experience through the game of baseball, because real estate is can be one of the most emotional businesses out there. You could get $1 million worth of real estate under contract, but then you can lose it just as quick. And figuring out there's highs and lows, ways to stay in the middle, and because here's what I teach my team. If you just landed $1 million contract and you're jumping for joy, nobody really wants to be around that person for a long time. They might say, hey, congratulations. That's awesome. But they're probably dealing with something personally and they don't necessarily want to ride that high with you. But in the same vein, nobody wants to be around Eeyore either. If you lose that deal, nobody wants to be around that person either.
Right.
So baseball taught me how to deal with high levels of failure because, my junior year, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. And I consistently failed and failed and failed and failed because I became somebody that I wasn't. And so I've had a lot of opportunity to fail and fail at a big level. And a lot of people on my real estate team haven't had that luxury. And they're learning it now. And I'm having to come alongside them and allow them to ride the highs and the lows, and then, pull them aside and say, hey, remember that thing that I was guarding you against? Well, you can either have wisdom or you can have knowledge. And right now you didn't take my wisdom and you're feeling it. Therefore, you're going to learn through knowledge. So that's just how we deal with failure. And I think it's been incredibly helpful. I love the athletic background. I love a military background. Those disciplines, you can absolutely tell it through people that are on your team. But also, too, I love helping people who've never really been a part of a team learn the team culture, but it is definitely not without a learning curve.
Let's shift gears for a second, Adam. You have, in a short amount of time, amassed a lot of properties you've personally purchased for investment, right? And one of the things that I think is kind of a shame is we're in the real estate business, right? That's our product. And I'd say 95% of the agents that exit the business after a career own no rental properties, no investment properties at all. It's kind of a sad thing, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us how you did that over the last few years, and how that has, I guess, helped you be a better leader. How has that made you even give a better value to the people that you're leading?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So very much a Dave Ramsey person, early on in my 20s. And all debt's bad, all debt's bad, all debt's bad. So in April of 2020, during the middle of COVID, we paid off our primary residence and had no debt to anybody in the world. Well, 2 months later, coincidentally, I got a call to purchase the apartment complex that I grew up in Lawrence. And I was like, cool, I can sell it and make a commission on it. I was turning in my listing paperwork, and mentor looked and said, if you don't go buy this today, I'm going to drive down to Lawrence, going to knock on the door, and I'm going to buy it. And I was like, oh, shoot, really?
Wow.
And, they kind of walked me through the why behind the what. And fast forward a couple months, I went from having 0 rentals to 5 doors, from 0 tenants to 5 tenants. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. I'm learning lease agreements. I'm learning landlord tenant law. I'm learning escrow, just the whole thing. But what really changed my mind is after things got settled and I received my first passive income check of $1,200. And I'm like, I didn't really do much for this. This is pretty cool. So then I was actually still at TD Bank at the time, and I still had those 3 incomes because I was working my tail off. And I said, you know what? I want to get to the point that I can sustain what I'm making at TD Bank, so that way whenever I leave that place, it's not a financial hit for us. So we went from 0 to 5 doors instantly. I had a couple big months of real estate closings as my skills were getting better. And then I saved up and I bought 4 condos in Greenwood. So I went from 0 doors to 9 doors in about 6 months. And I traded cash for cash flow to sustain me for a long time. And then by that point, I started getting really confident in investing. And I knew that I needed, even though those condos might be great on cash flow, they weren't really equity builders. And there's a difference in investment real estate. And so I ended up going and buying a package of 4 rental properties, leveraging a personal relationship. A lady was looking to sell them. She was in her 80s. And I leveraged my relationship for an owner finance deal. And she owner financed them for me. And I knew that those were going to be homes in Lawrence that I purchased that were going to skyrocket in equity. And so my investment philosophy is to, almost play back and forth between cash flow and long-term equity, because we all need cash flow now, but we all need equity long-term. And usually it's hard to get both. So, then I got very confident because I had my lender, my attorney, my appraiser, my inspector. I built my team And then I started buying stuff I'd never even stepped foot in. And really what I would say is that the main driver in the here and now of why I've invested in real estate is because I want it to be a hedge against a bad market. I can survive a bad market now because we've got those rentals in place. However, long term, of course, I want to retire at some point, and then my retirement plan at that point is to live off of the equity and the cash flow that we're bringing in monthly. And having that knowledge has given so much life to our team, not only on how to communicate with an investor, but give them a target to work for. Associate their daily activities with what they do in real estate with the ability to invest in themselves and their family's future, and really to change their family tree forever. It has the power to do that.
So since you started that process, Adam, would you mind sharing how many properties do you own now?
I have 33 cash flowing properties.
That's outstanding. Yeah. And by the way, I'm here to tell all of Adam's friends and family out there is, I live across the country in Arizona. And so I had no knowledge. And so he was patient with me. He kind of walked me through the steps. He showed the maps where all the growth was occurring. And I've always been an appreciation investor. And he basically laid it out for me. And I've already purchased one house with his team. I'm going to be doing probably 2 more in December. So it's a great value having Adam's skill set, and he knows his numbers and he knows the area. So I would encourage you to talk to him on that. Bella, are you blown away yet with Adam? I told you he's pretty special guy.
Yeah. Adam, looking back from when you started investing, like what kind of advice would you give to someone that wants to learn how to do this?
There's I don't know how this is going to come across. Those of you who are listening, you're a lot smarter than a lot of other people that have done this in the past. Where people get caught up is paralysis by analysis. They never pull the trigger. All of life is a risk, and you have to understand what your level of risk is. It's risky now to buy real estate, I guess. It's risky in the future not to have any investments. It's risky to go to the gym every morning and to exercise your body because you might get hurt, but it's also risky to be weak when you're older and not being able to get in the floor and play with your grandkids. Every bit of life is risk, and through whether it is reading a book, having a mentor, listening to a podcast like this, whatever it is, once you have a knowledge and a skill set in place where you could maybe not see what the finish line looks like, but you can see the next 2 steps in front of you, take action. Fortune favors the bold. Have a team that kind of is guiding you through the process, whether it is your realtor, your attorney, your appraiser, your inspector. And I had an old boss that used to tell me that good deals get better, bad deals get worse. So if you've got enough people, especially as a newbie investor, telling you, yes, this is a good deal. Yes, this is a good deal. That's probably a good deal, and you should probably listen.
Just a couple more questions, Adam. Yeah, that's good stuff. I know you just got called out on duty because you're in the Guard. How was that? Did that change your heart? What'd you see? I'm sure you've seen quite a bit. It's been very difficult over there. I know portions of North Carolina have had cities that can been completely wiped out.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody this morning. There's still 250 people that are unaccounted for in Northeast Tennessee. So, what'd you see and how'd that go?
Yeah. So I had a little bit of a cush job. I was a liaison for Spartanburg County. So, if Spartanburg County needed any resources through the National Guard, they would run it through me. So, I did not see any of the crazy firsthand, but I saw a lot of photos and testimonials and stuff like that. And it's bad, specifically in Western North Carolina. South Carolina, you give it 2 weeks after the storm, it's like nothing happened. But Western North Carolina is obliterated. Parts of it. There are parts up there that have been now classified on the 1,000-year flood map, FEMA flood map. So it's something that just has never been seen before in the history of our country. For Western North Carolina, I don't think it's an extreme statement to say that this is as bad or worse from an infrastructure standpoint as Katrina was for for Louisiana.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. One of the things, and just a couple more questions here, Adam, and we'll let you go. The other thing is, so you and I are in competing brokerages. And one of the reasons I love to do this kind of stuff is I want to show the industry that because you're in a competing brokerage, you can still be great friends and you can support each other,
Right.
And I think that's what we all need to start doing a lot more of in this industry, is lifting the industry up and showing people that, you can mastermind with anybody, especially if you're of the same mind. And, I just want to thank you for your leadership and what you're giving to your local market center, what you're giving to your team, your clients. I mean, you're producing a lot and you're also developing people, right? And I know that's a passion of yours. So I just want to share with people out there that it's good to actually interact with people that aren't in your company. It's a healthy thing.
That's right. No, I think it's a healthy mindset to move. And this is kind of a common theme that I hear in real estate, especially among coaches, but move from scarcity to abundance. We all don't have to hoard our talents. We all don't have to hoard, stay true to the company line. Like, whenever you live in abundance, you're going to have far more opportunities than you would just, getting out of that scarcity mindset. And I think it's also fair to say that if you're listening here, like, I would say, survey your heart, survey your mind. And there's plenty of people who operate out of scarcity, and people who may jump back into scarcity. I jump back into scarcity from time to time. But the cool thing is, whenever you get to talk with people who have been there and done it, and people that you look up to, like Jeff, it's a reminder always to live in abundance rather than scarcity. God is good. He provides for, the birds in the air and the critters in the field. He's going to provide for you. He's going to provide for me. So the more that we could lift each other up, like you said, especially after the NAR settlement, we all need to try to figure things out together. And so I'll echo exactly what you said, Jeff. Appreciate you and all the things that you've done for me already, and all the things that we're going to continue to do together.
Yeah, it's great you mentioned that. When I hear fear of scarcity or scarcity versus abundance, I always think of the fear of loss. Oh, you're focused on lack versus the focus on the gain or the optimism of what could be, right? What you could create with hard work by looking at the positives. But it's so hard because we have a sinful nature about us, and we tend to we have a propensity to think about lack. That's just our human nature. Right. Yep. So I think you need to be around an inner circle of people that are top notch. Right. It's you got to be in the right rooms with the right people that are lifting you up. So I'm sure you have some accountability partners, or you have people in your life, Adam, that you look up to for coaching. I'm sure you have that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's my mom always, told me in high school, and it really stuck, is that you should always have a Paul. You should always have a Timothy. You should always have a mentor, but you should also always be mentoring others. And so I always seek that out. And I've always had cultures of coaching, whether it's baseball or, scary drill sergeants in the military, as a coach. I've got 2 real estate coaches here, and I really take the knowledge that they impart on me and then try to do my best to put my spin on it to lead our team well. And those are the people that, I think are entrusted to me and rely on me. And I'm excited to see what what comes about from all the cool things that they're going to do. Because in a lot of ways, a lot of them are a lot more talented than I am.
So when you look into the future, Adam, what's next? What are you excited about the most?
It's a good question, because I think what we have accomplished in 6 years, I thought was going to take about 15 to 20. It's a great question, because I'm helping other people all the time think through their big why, and let's attach this effort to this outcome. And to be very honest with you, I've pretty much done what I thought I would do, but I don't think and by no means am I ever going to get comfortable. But I think it is either scaling this real estate business up to something that's huge on the national level, or maybe looking at some horizontal businesses. I've also got a passion for the wealth building side of things, the financial advising side of things. I might get my license there. Or you know what? I might actually take a day off. I don't know.
That's a good idea, Adam. When's the last time you did that?
Couldn't tell you.
So I was at his house, and he took his day off by riding his tractor. That was a legit tractor, by the way. That was money, and that tractor was big, and it was like manly. And he was cutting his back 40, his grass. It was really cool. It was jamming. It was. It seemed like a fun day.
That actually might be the last time, if I'm being honest.
Well, this has been a joy, Adam. How can people get a hold of you if they want your help and support in South Carolina or wherever they call from?
Yeah, well, just here to help, answer any questions, whether you're an agent listening, somebody who wants to invest, whether it's in your market, upstate of South Carolina, anywhere. My number is 864-981-0222, 864-981-0222. And my email address is real as in real estate, REAL, my name, Adam Taylor, at kw.com. So real Adam Taylor at kw.com.
Awesome. And for everybody that's watching, the goal of this show is to bring people's leadership to another level. And most of the time it's going to be in the real estate context. Sometimes it's not, because leadership is leadership. But networking is what we're trying to do when we're trying to get the best people, the best of the best on the show. And I think hopefully you'll agree, Adam is one of the best of the best. And I consider him my friend, and I look forward just to getting to know him better and his team better. So I'm blessed that you came today and spent some time with us today, Adam. And so Bella and I are just thankful for you today and for showing up.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I think I told y'all before, this is the first podcast I've ever done. So there it is. It was awesome. I appreciate it. And hopefully we, gave you something to work with.
Yeah, see, and you got somebody to go to on the east side of the country. And if y'all need any help on the west side of the country, you can call me and Bella. And we handle Phoenix. So together, I think we're a good combination. So again, thank you, Adam, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.